Young fella, Devin Booker, talk a little trash about Troy Daniels. Gotta like that. All right, I want to talk a little Bulls here with you guys. Jimmy Butler told the Chicago Sun-Times he called Carmelo Anthony this past weekend, as he described it, to catch up. You may remember Melo considered signing with the Bulls, just an innocent phone call. As a free agent back in 2014, he ultimately passed. But, guys, one of his closest friends, Dwayne Wade, now plays there, so might he be more interested now? And is Butler lobbying for that? Here is Butler's quote. Everyone knows what Melo can bring to a team. The dude is a hell of a player. You can talk to him and tell him all this, but as far as a trade and all that stuff, that's the front office. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think that the Bulls should get into the Melo sweepstakes?
Jimmy Butler don't want this.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
No. Well, it's not a good fit. It's not a good fit.
Well, that has not bothered the Bulls when assembling their personnel thus far.
Not in the middle of the season making this trade for Melo. Just it doesn't make sense. They have, if they was to have Melo, you're going to have 3 guys that demand the ball, and that just never works out.
What do you think, John?
I don't disagree. I don't think it's a great fit.
I mean, trying to be circumspect about his friend.
My thing is, if I'm Melo, I have the power, if I'm going to make a move, I'm not making a move to go to a middle of the pack.
That's interesting.
Team. I'm making a move to try to win it all now, right now. And if I have the power, I can do what I want to do.
You know what I love, though, is players just want to win. Like, the franchise should absolutely not do this, right? There's no basketball reason that makes sense.
At all.
They're trying to get younger. They're not winning. Every time they try to get old, they add Rondo, they add Dwayne Wade.
Jimmy Butler wants to win.
But Jimmy Butler wants to win. Like, he's like, we need more talent. Get Carmelo here.
But Jimmy doesn't know how to win yet. Well, I mean, you don't just bring other players. You know you're going to upgrade at the position.
Right.
But then you get there and it's like, okay, well, how are we going to make this work?
How are you going to put it together?
But it's like, okay, on the Olympic team where you just get all the best players and you guys figure it out.
No.
Well,
I think that's how Jimmy's thinking.
That has not worked for the Bulls thus far. All right, some interesting stuff going on with Steph Curry I do want to get to. Steph has not been the most politically vocal player over the years, but after the CEO of his main sponsor, Under Armour, told CNBC, quote, President Trump is a real asset for the country, well, Steph felt moved to speak out, gave a strong interview to the San Jose Mercury News. His comment, I agree with that, if you remove the ET. Steph went on to tell the Mercury News that he was so bothered by Plank's initial comments, he spent, quote, all day on the phone with countless Under Armour people, discussing what the company and Plank's values are, as the article put it, on Trump's controversial policies and comments that have enraged women, Muslims, Mexicans, African Americans, and the impoverished. Quite a list, by the way. Steph went on to say he ended the day feeling okay about where Under Armour stood, but he would consider leaving the company in the future if the leadership is not in line with my core values. There is no amount of money, he said, no platform I wouldn't jump off of if it wasn't in line with who I am. Guys, I think this is so fascinating because it speaks to the power that athletes have these days. Steph is not just an employee of Under Armour, like you have been with Adidas, Tracy. He is an investor in the company. That makes all the difference, right?
So proud of Steph. I'm proud of him. I mean, he was right. We all know where he stands on the issue, being in his relationship with President Obama. But, man, just proud of him for standing up. And whether we like it or not, we have a platform to say whatever we want. And there's a lot of kids and a lot of people that look up to Steph Curry. And for him to step out and just to be courageous, at a time like this against the CEO of a company that's paying him a lot of money. And as he said, the money, it's not the money, no amount of money. It's all about my core values.
That's what I love.
It's great. It's great. I'm proud of Steph.
That's what I love about this whole statement that he made is all the money that you could pay me, I could have stake into this company. But if you don't live by my values, no matter who you are, I'm departing from you. And I respect that to the utmost.
Well, Rachel, we've seen in the NBA that players and the league takes big stances on social issues. And I go back to when Donald Sterling was kicked out of the league. And I remember going, well, what can they do? I mean, they can kick him out of the league, but what is the leverage here? And there was one game, it was a playoff game, and you showed up, and every single sponsor sign had been covered up. No company wanted to advertise or have their brand associated with the Clippers as long as Donald Sterling was still the owner of the team. And it was as soon as the NBA saw that, where you hit him in the pocketbook, right?
Yeah,
it was over.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. And I will say the fact that these guys are getting so much more money off of contracts and things like that, It empowers them then.
Right.
They're great.
Sure.
They're like, great, I don't need this extra if you're not going to do what I want to do. And that's only a good thing if athletes are able to follow their own heart better. I love seeing this. Again, whatever side you are on, you are, as you said, Chauncey, you're a role model, and you should be able to speak out and be a concerned citizen, whatever you think. And according to Oakley, no one doesn't even want him in the building. Here's Oak from late last night telling his side of the story.
Get there, sit down, try to have a good time. Next thing I know, I was asked to leave the building. I asked why. And he said, guys, well, you have to leave because someone ordered you to leave. You know, somebody walking up on you, you got to protect yourself in all manners. And I've been in a situation like that before. I've been jumped before. So my mind always matters thinking like, if you see 7, 8, 9, 10 guys walking up on you, you have to brace yourself and be ready for the challenge. And that's how I was thinking.
Now, the Knicks tell it another way. Here's their statement. Charles Oakley came to the game and behaved in a highly inappropriate and completely abusive manner. They added, he was a great Knick, and we hope he gets some help soon. Now, to me, that is where an ugly situation turns even uglier. We hope he gets some help soon? That is serious shade, basically implying that Oakley has a psychological issue or a substance issue or both. I don't know, all of which Oakley flatly denies. Look, we had Oakley on the jump last season. I can tell you he was fully in charge of his mental faculties, as he was when I covered him extensively during his playing days. I had so much fun being around Oakley back then, and sure, it was cool that he was so tough. But the thing about him you really fell in love with was how true he was to the game and the people who played it. I said last night that the Knicks could go 0-82, and it wouldn't lose them as many fans as if they pressed charges against Charles Oakley. And while no, it is never okay to start physically shoving anyone, it's also not okay to try to wipe away the contributions that Oak made to New York basketball. He is not the enemy, and a season full of mistakes over at MSG, turning him into one, might be the Knicks' biggest mistake of all. Now, Chauncey, you didn't play with Oak, but you certainly were around in the league when he was around. And as a player, as you were sitting there live on television, I might add, on Countdown last night, watching this happen, what are you thinking?
Just unfortunate, you know, to see somebody so revered by that organization be carried out and walked out like that and treated in that way. And I can just tell you as a man, you can talk to me without putting your hands on me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we cross into a different lane.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know, I mean, Mac played with we call him NBA's version of Debo. So we all know how Oak is. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, the last part of that statement really bothered me.
Right?
With the Knicks, it really bothered me because it leads people to assume some other things that we know are not true about Oak. So just a very unfortunate situation, man. I feel for Oak, but to me it's an indictment on where this franchise is.
I don't know why.
You did play with him. I mean, you were youngin' with the Raptors when he was on that team.
I did, but I don't know why teams and players, when we criticize a former team that we played for, we criticize players that we played against, and they get so sensitive about us criticizing them. And this is the case. Like, why are you so, sensitive that Charles has been criticizing the franchise? Rightfully so. Like, he's the only one. That man gave his heart and soul out on that basketball court when he was in a Knicks uniform. But to go back to my personal stories about when I was a teammate of Charles, is I remember when we used to come through the tunnel, get off the bus, get ready for shoot around. If there was a 10 o'clock shoot around for us, and if we walk out on the court, this is how savage he was. If the other team was out on the court at 10:01, he won't say anything. He will walk over to the ball rack, start getting balls and chunking them at the other team.
This is the team you're supposed to play later that night.
This is the team that we're supposed to play that night because they're still on the court.
They're on your court time.
Yes, they're on our court time.
You like
That's
throwing
how
balls at
savage he was. I was like, I'm 19 years old witnessing this.
It's our time. That's what he should do. It's 10:01. We only have an hour to get ready for the game.
My turn.
Love
Come on, Oak, get
How
him out of
did you
here.
and Vince Carter feel when you were playing ball
Safe.
and you know Oak had your back?
Safe. I've never felt safe. For real, I felt like that little brother that I could go and smack somebody and then run behind my big big brother.
Right.
Like, he was the ultimate protector for our team.
And also, look, we're showing him in Barkley. He had his troubles with other people. You were there. This was on the court in front of the TV cameras. Tracy, let's do a little story time with Tracy McGrady. You were there when something happened with these two off the court. Would you like to share with the group, please?
I'll let you have it.
Come on there. I'm not. Listen.
Is this one for your snap?
No. You.
Listen,
Look, the story is that this was during the lockout, and Oak slapped Charles Barkley.
He smacked Charles in front of everybody that was out there because we were in New York during the lockout, and there was some conversation between the two. Actually, one had some action.
Wow.
Smack the hell out of him. Yes.
Here's the thing about this is what you talked about in your opening there is it never needs to come to this. Like from what I've heard, this actually has been brewing for quite some time. And actually last year at a game, I heard that he went to, when Charlotte was in town, Patrick Ewing is an assistant coach for Charlotte, and he went to go see his friend, and there was sort of another incident there where Charles is, they don't comp him tickets, right? He's not sort of welcome with the Knicks family or in any part with the organization, so he buys his own tickets. And he's been trying to reach out to Jim Dolan to have a meeting or to people with the Knicks to sort of talk to them face to face to reestablish this relationship. They don't want to have that conversation, and so he bought tickets again last night and went to the game, but it was sitting 2 rows behind James Dolan. So to me, everything you guys are saying is you never want it to ever get to a place where it's going to escalate.
Cool.
You never want that to be physical. You never want it to be in a public arena like this.
One of the icons
Kids are
of the
there witnessing
franchise.
this. It's not good.
He's trying to reach out.
Nobody won in this situation. It's a bad look on both parties.
Look, we talked yesterday on the show, Tracy. Free agents want to come there. I'm not sure that this morning a bunch of free agents woke up and said, oh, yeah, that's where I want to be.